Welcome to the first turn. I'm Hyena,
I'm Llama.
and this week in Warhammer, I think we'll probably make it kind of quick. It's a holiday weekend. We got stuff to do. News this week was a little light. You know, we had a couple of events, things happen. We had some news. News is kind of a misnomer, right?
Yeah,
Because it's just more of the same stuff, right? We could say everything for the last couple of years is more of the same stuff, but
yeah,
it's even more of the same stuff because it's faction previews and little nuggets for the new edition of 40K that's be
right.
coming out. I've heard rumor that it'll be pre-order June 6th. We're coming out June 20th, which tracks. And so we've got a couple more weeks of daily articles about this is what this faction can
Faction
do
focus, right.
a little bit. Yeah, that kind of stuff. Which is fine to see because they need to touch each one of the factions to give a little nugget to each player, who plays those factions. But it's only so much that you can really talk about yet before you're just like, okay, here's the full rule book. Go read it for yourself. Here's the full
Yep.
whatever rules. So we'll see. We are getting or gotten Age of Sigmar this week. The releases for that. That was
Things are
exciting.
out. Yeah.
I expect to see lots of cog forts and stuff like that coming up on social
Oh,
soon.
yeah.
We really haven't. I've seen a few, but that's a massively popular kit that we'll see a lot more of. But also this week we had the Skull event for Warhammer.
Yeah, the
for the
10-year
game
anniversary
side.
of the Warhammer Skulls event, which is all their video game IP stuff. Updates coming soon. And we saw a number of things from the official release date for Dawn of War 4, which is September 17th of this year. Honestly, that seems quick because I feel like we just got the announcement for Dawn of War 4. But I don't know. That's pretty exciting because for any Dawn of War fans, 1 and 2 were very good. 3 was the high potential bummer release that it was. Now we've got 4, which is supposed to bridge the best parts of all of it. So that's cool. End of the summer, early fall, we get that. The update for Total War, which you and I both play a little bit of, was for an expansion to the Cathay faction. Bashiva, the White Tiger. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was.
I got spoiled, but
actually, is that a new character that brings in some of the ideas of other Eastern factions?
Yeah,
in Old World.
It's essentially the Ind faction. So India equivalent in the Old World was Ind, and we learned about these Tiger Warriors and all these other things that existed there. They didn't have a lot of lore about them. So what they did for the game is they just decided to take this excerpt that showed the White Tiger, which is like a prophecy in the Cathayan world, works as a mercenary for the guy dragon Llama or whichever one that is.
Yeah, whichever.
Yeah.
Right.
That one. So they have Bashiva's faction as a standalone, but it's essentially a mercenary faction to him. And so it's Cathayan, focuses on Bashiva, some of the characters, and the Tiger Warriors. So you're playing Cathay, but they've overhauled the Cathay faction mechanics, the technology tree, the skill trees for the characters, and then this individual legendary lord is very fun. Lots of new mechanics. Is like limited though. Has all these new Tiger Warriors and relics and things that they can acquire, but they don't have access to all of the Cathayan units until they achieve a certain number of things for him, for the Xiaoming. So pretty neat. I've only played about 10 turns with her so far, but yeah, expansion of the video game. I know we don't talk about that much, but that's been the only kind of news at the moment.
Yeah, that's kind of the new stuff, right? It's the Skulls event is kind of a mix of, there were some new stuff, but it was mostly DLCs and updates for the ongoing IP, right? So you had an update for Total War, you had an update for
Inquisitor,
Space Marine 2.
Yep.
You had we got a development update, like I said, for Dawn of War 4. We got like an update for Tacticus, right? We got an update for Battle Sector. I think there was a crossover event for Helldivers, right? With 40K, which I mean that game already felt pretty Warhammer. Not gonna lie, I don't know if you've played or seen any of that game.
Yeah.
You do basically just fight the Necrons in that.
Yeah.
There's an update for Darktide where you can get a new class. You can play a Scutari, there's maybe some enemies. Stuff like that. I mean, there were a couple of new titles on there. Mostly this Warhammer Survivor game, which was kind of side scroller, bullet hell kind of thing. We had Bolt Gun 2, which features is that a named guy? Is that white helmet guy from Bolt Gun? He's got a name. He's a named character from that specifically. I can't remember what he's called. Malum Cato.
Oh.
I think
what I do know is that they're trying to they're having some of these games coincide with one another and things happening in 40K proper. Like I know, so for Tacticus, which I only play the free version of, I don't spend any money on the game, but like they have an event going on right now for a Blood Raven character, the scout, the emo guy with like the monocle and anyway, I don't remember his name, but they have that going on. And then they announced all this stuff for Dawn of War 4, which, of course, the Dawn of War series has featured Blood Ravens as a chapter. So I know they want to like tie some of these together to like make them, to market them, which makes sense. I
mean, obviously, right? Yeah.
I do wonder if Blood Ravens will ever get their own standalone rules. I know they had Gabriel or Angela.
They had Gabriel Angelo's model, but they also had
Forge World. They had him.
It was like a librarian, wasn't it? Did they have a Blood Angels librarian named character?
Oh, he had the Mark IV whisker helmet.
Yeah.
He was in one of the editions. He was super good. Is it Severin Severus?
Severin Loth?
Something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, something like that. I think that's right. He might have been a Red Scorpion, actually, not a Blood Raven.
He might have been a Red Scorpion, yeah.
Yeah. But regardless,
I wouldn't be surprised if Blood Ravens eventually get a detachment, like, in a character.
Battle Sector is getting an update, which is neat. Battle Sector is a lot of fun. I really enjoyed the campaign of that game. Multiplayer, not so much. I don't care. Most games I don't care about multiplayer, but the campaign itself was pretty fun. Gladius, whatever. A lot of the like mobile games. There's a crossover with Rust. Have you ever played that game?
I've not played Rust. I've only played Tacticus, really. Like,
yeah, there's a Rust update where it's adding Krieger cosmetics to it. Fine. There was an update to the development of Dark Heresy, which was another kind of story game, RPG. There's an update to Rogue Trader where you start interacting more with the Necrons, which I think is actually super cool. Because that game had the potential to touch all kinds of different stuff. Because you're part of the Imperium, but as a Rogue Trader, you've got a lot of purview to do whatever you want. Yeah, and there's some pretty heretical stuff going on in that game. So the fact that they're actually introducing Trazine into the game, a very important named Necron character, right? It all has to do with like delving into his like Tesseract museum, right? It's called the Infinite Museum, is what the update's called. And so like you're going in there and you're fighting things from the past and like lost things. And I mean, I can absolutely see them using that as a way to like kind of further the rumors of like, hey, Trazine's got some really important characters locked away. We're going to give you a little teaser of seeing them in this DLC for a kind of obscure. I mean, it's not obscure. It's people do love TRPGs, right?
Yeah.
Classic turn-based, whatever.
Yep.
And kind of hinting at it in there and people realizing that, and then maybe it's like, boom, okay, now here's Dorn, or something, someone who was like trapped in the vault gets released or something, and then new character for the tabletop. I mean, super cool. If they were planning anything on that scale. I think it'd be neat.
He's one of the Necron characters in particular, Trazin, that they've written all these novels about and they've expanded upon, and he's super interesting in the way he still thinks like a Necron when he interacts with people. But then he has this museum, this archive of legendary heroes and villains, artifacts, knowledge, whatever. So he gets
Right.
more interesting. So I think a game that involves him just
It'd be
has to
super
be
cool.
good. Yeah.
Yeah. And then as far as new games they're coming out with, in addition to that, there's Mechanicus 2, which I don't know if you played the first Mechanicus. I liked it a lot. I think that was really cool. I
I
think
did
it might
not
be
play
out
the first
now.
one. No.
It was a turn-based kind of game that was focused specifically, all you played as was Mechanicus characters against the Necrons. It was kind of limited in scope, but it was still neat. Sequel to that coming out. There's a new
Well, there was
Skaven
I was
game
going to say
coming.
before that, though, there was a Skitarii expansion to another game. So I feel like
Yeah,
the
yeah. So
mechanic
we're
is
so
the same
Dark Tide.
theme. Yeah.
Yeah, Dark Tide is kind of like the 40K successor to like Vermintide, like that
Okay.
style where
Okay.
you're a small party, you go into a level and you fight your way through. You're what is it, Left 4 Dead type, where like you
Right.
have to survive from beginning to end kind of thing. You've got limited resources. You got to be mechanically good. I mean, it's kind of a precursor to even Space Marine 2 and how they do their kind of fighting style. Like it's very similar. So they're adding that new class in there, which is cool because there's only 5 classes right now, and so adding a
Yeah.
sixth, kind of a big deal. So that's neat. Like I said, there's a Skaven game coming out where you play as an aspiring assassin. We've seen so little of it, but
That
the
looks,
idea of it's
yeah.
kind of neat.
So it's defined currently on Steam as a 2D platformer, uh,
Sure.
but you're an assassin. So I wonder how that's going to work.
Right. I mean, the only thing they really show is you like kind of just murdering another Skaven, kind of betraying them. But
Which fits
I mean,
their, yeah,
where's it going to go? Where can
right.
like it's limitless where it can take you. Um, a lot of platform games I feel like don't actually implement stealth mechanics very well. This
Right.
one maybe is supposed to, which could make it kind of unique. Most of them are like all about timing and spacing and, I don't know, that kind of thing. Your Metroidvania type games is what I'm picturing, right?
Right.
Where you do collect upgrades, you unlock new wings of levels and stuff, but the layout's exactly the same every time.
Yeah.
No idea where this is going to go. No clue. Because we've got, like I said, we've seen so little. We've seen a little bit of animation, but I don't know.
A few weeks ago, they also did like this retro pack where a bunch of their old games they made available again on Steam
Yeah.
instead of like DOS or.
Yeah.
So I went and picked up Final Liberation because I don't know
Sure.
if you ever played that.
Yeah.
It was essentially epic. You were just Imperium and orcs, really, is all you
Mhm.
had in that game. But at the time in the late '90s or whatever, it was pretty great. So I picked it up, and it feels exactly like I remember it. But
A lot of those are old Warhammer games, while fun at the time, maybe they don't hold up nowadays.
no, they
But
don't hold
when
up that
when,
well.
when you look at them from like sort of like a historical perspective of like, remember this game came out 30 years ago.
Yeah,
And we're like, okay, good on them, for back then. It's nice to have a little piece of history, because I remember playing those games as a kid, a lot of those Fire Warrior and stuff.
Yep.
I remember playing all those, and it's like you play it now, you're like, oh, this game sucks, but it's like, oh, it brings back memories. It's fun, I mean, it's like going back and playing the original Doom or like Doom 64, right? And it's like, oh, you can't look up and down to aim. You have to like aim sideways. That's all you
Yeah.
can do. And then like a guy's up on a cliff and you just aim under him and your gun.
Yep.
Your bullets just kind of like trajectory aim up at him and you can't really see yourself shooting
Yeah.
him because he's too far away. That kind
Yep.
of thing. I don't know. It's whatever. Making
Ugh.
build again is nice.
Fire Warrior was so
that's
bad.
cool.
But it was neat that they like Final Liberation, I think was $4.99 or something. So like
Whatever.
maybe some of their old games like that. So I was like, all right, I might do that
Mhm.
because a lot of games you now just can't play a quick game, right? It's like it's either a game you have to invest a bunch of time in, or it's like an app one where you have certain tasks to complete in the day. So like sometimes finding one of these 1996 games where it's like I can jump in real quick, play a level, and be done.
Right.
I don't know. It was neat that they made that available, but people were talking about how much more Games Workshop is linking their IP together, and so they released this pack of retro games. They now showed off new video games coming. So is it going to affect their tabletop games? Is what people wonder. I wouldn't be surprised if, like we mentioned before, the Blood Ravens become playable detachment or faction in 40K at some point. I wouldn't be surprised if they expand Cathay in the old world with some of the Tiger Warrior stuff. That would be like 2 or 3 kits, and they could do it.
Oh, sure.
Age of Sigmar, I don't know yet, because it sounds like that survival game is the only one. Oh, and the Assassin one, the Skaven Assassin one, are Age of Sigmar specific, but I don't know if any of those linked to it yet. And that could be why they're hoping to reimagine the Age of Sigmar world to make it more IP attractive.
Yeah, it could be. I mean, if you took any of these other games that they've come out with and reskinned them and published them for 40K or for AOS instead of 40K, I think a lot of them would work. The one other game we didn't talk about was there's a Chaos Gate like turn-based game.
Okay.
The other one you played is Grey Knights, and they added, I think, the ability to play as like assassins and stuff like that. There's a new one coming out where instead of being Grey Knights and fighting against Nurgle and demons, you're playing as Death Watch and the Inquisition. So you're fighting against Tau and I think Necrons and orcs and all kinds of stuff. But it seems like, and I guess there's some Tyranids in there. But they've kind of implemented some of that stuff that they learned from the first game, right? Where it's not just like, here's your Grey Knight squad. Like you can see already, it's like it should be called Chaos Gate Inquisitor or something, because it's like you're playing it as like a lot of inquisitorial warband characters. Like you can play as Inquisitors, you've got astropaths, you've got, I saw you can actually play as like one of your units you can bring as a Sentinel or a Dreadnought, as well as like the actual Death Watch Marines.
Right.
And so like it's kind of a disservice calling it Death Watch, because like it should just be like that arm of the Inquisition, right? Like the ones that faces Ordo Xenos is basically what it's kind of seems like to me. Whereas the other one was Order Heretic or Order Hereticus. What's Grey Knights?
Ordo
Malleus?
Demonicus.
I think it's Order Malleus.
Oh, okay.
Dealing with the Malleus.
Because it used to be called the Demon Hunters. It was the only way you could play them, but yeah.
For sure. It might have been called Chaos Gate Demon Hunters, the last game. Anyway. Yeah, it was. It was called Chaos Gate Demon Hunters was the previous game where you played as the Grey Knights. But it's a sequel to be the very similar mechanics. It was a fun game. It was hard, but it was a fun game, and I think it's cool they're coming out doing more with it. I'm down for that. So, but again, like you take Battle Sector, you take Mechanicus, like any of these games, it's like, oh, it's just turn-based. You fighting aliens, you fighting monsters, you fighting like. Why not make the Age of Sigmar? Why not make an AOS skin on it?
Yeah.
I agree. Try that once. Instead of just like giving out your AOS IP to like kind of half-baked sort of ideas. Like the Warhammer Survivor game is cool that it's got Neve and it's got, Gotrek, it's got what's his name? The Witch Hunters that they have the name characters for. Like those are playable characters in that, which is cool. Callus and Toll. There you go. Where you can see those guys in there, but it's like, all right, but it's just a sprite. Like the sprite doesn't really do anything except like tell you where you are. It's such a low effort like commitment. You know what I mean?
Yep.
I don't know. It's just I would like to see more in the Age of Sigmar world, especially when it comes to like story and lore building, right? If they did a rogue trader type or a dark heresy type, because there is a set a rule set, right? Soulbound for Age of Sigmar.
Yep.
Like maybe try doing that. Maybe do one of these classic RPG type games with Age of Sigmar in mind to explore the world, expand it, get people invested in the actual lore, because 40K is already rich with it, so it's kind of easy. I say easy because there's so much. Coming up with a story is difficult, but like you've got so much to pull from to support your story building, right? we need some world building. That's for sure.
Yeah. So I wonder if some of those are holding off for the next edition. Not that I think all the rumors and stuff we had about what's happening to Age of Sigmar are true, but I wonder if if they're going to spend so much more time on the lore and the maps and everything, so that video game content or video game designers can look at that world and be like, okay, we can build something here. You're right. I would
honestly, that might be where some of those rumors even came from, right? Like maybe they are saying we are, behind the scenes, we're redesigning things. We do want some things to be in development. We're giving out some of these notes, some of this information to designers and writers and all this. And maybe it hasn't come to fruition yet, but it's got to get out there years in advance, right? If they're making the change, they need to get the information out there to somebody to start working on things before it happens, so that it coincides, so that the release happens just, close to when the change happens. And you can't just be like, all right, make it now that it's out. You got 2 weeks. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know.
I know. So this weekend we did have the Texas Open in Dallas, which was a Games Workshop sponsored Warhammer Open event. So based on the looks of things, there's now almost one every month. So it's clearly not just going to be those as far as preview events go, because there were no previews for this. But in terms of the game activity, it's now, very active. We have our normal conventions all over the country, all over the world, really, all the time. And now Games Workshop is running all these opens. There's 5 in America and 6 international. So constant stuff there as far as if people want to keep up with what's winning, what's doing well, what does the meta look like. On the 40K side, we've got lots of Dark Angels look good, 3 of them in the top 8. I don't know if that's going to translate to video games. We have learned that Lionel Johnson will make an appearance in Dawn of War 4.
I hope he's not you can't fight him, you can't play as him, that kind of thing.
I think he's just a story element.
That'd be good. I mean, Kaldor Drago shows up in Chaos. Yeah, we were just talking about that. Chaos Gate Demon Hunters. Drago shows up.
Right.
I'm pretty sure. But you don't get to play as him. Hell, I think he shows up in Inquisitor too. I think that dude shows up everywhere, but you never get to play as him.
Right.
He's just kind of a story element where he's there and he furthers things. Yeah, shit. I'd have to look that up. I remember seeing him in something.
Yeah, it's hard to say. Age of Sigmar event going on at Texas Open. There's no placings yet, so they're still finalizing stuff today. I suppose it's Sunday, so it's final day of tournament. One of these rounds we had looks like about 8 different armies in the top 8. So Age of Sigmar side doesn't tell me much. Okay. As far as video game content, I don't know. I'm right with you. I played what was it called? Realms of Ruin.
Oh, sure, yeah.
And that game was Dawn of War 2-ish, set in Age of Sigmar in the Mortal Realms. And
they could have gone so much further with it.
Right.
I think what made Dawn of War 2 so good was the out of campaign, quote, progression you made, were things like you'd find equipment to customize your squads and they would level up as you use them. That game seemed like the expansions to Dawn of War 2, where you could play as the Tyranids and you can play as the Imperial Guard, and no matter who you played against, you still had to fight against a Baneblade in the first 2 missions. You remember that?
Right.
And then as the levels go on in that, it's you got buildings where you can just you can actually just build chaff troops. And it's that's not what the earlier version story campaigns of Dawn of War 2 were. It was you're equipped almost with your squads, right? You take I want to bring these 3 squads in the mission, and you have to use them. If the squad goes down, you could revive them. Technically, if you can get to a checkpoint, but you don't get to just bring in reinforcements. It's like
Right.
you're limited to those kill teams. And then you can upgrade them with weapons. You give them different weapons. Oh, my Devastator Sergeant guy, who's my character, well, I'm going to give him a heavy bolter. Or I found a new missile launcher. The squad's now going to have missile launchers. Or maybe he wields a missile launcher, but the squad uses heavy bolters. Kind of thing. Like you can customize them a little bit. It was more strategic and less, RTS macro heavy kind of gameplay.
Yep.
That AOS game was more macro heavy. Because once your units got into fight, like it was just, let's just wait and see how this resolves. I have no real, I can't micro
you didn't
anything.
have control of that. It was just like you sent them over there and then go AFK. Yeah.
I kind of lost interest in the game a little bit. I never finished it. I lost interest in when they forced you to play as part of the campaign. They forced you to play as the orcs, and the first mission you play as an orc, basically you're outnumbered like 10-1. And I'm like, I tried it like 4 or 5 times. I'm like, what am I supposed to do here?
Right.
And I was just like, well, I guess I'll pick this up some other time. And then I never did.
Yep.
Like the main narrative elements were fine. Like the gameplay style was fine. I just think some of the ideas in it were a little half baked, and they could have been better. I wouldn't say it was a bad game, right? Like especially for like a $30 game. If it were a $60 or $70 AAA title, like probably like not worth
right.
It was cheap and it was fun for a while. Like I've spent more money on games and played them less than I've played that one. You know what I mean? Like that's kind of where you look at it, where the value is.
It was a pretty decent game for what I played. It just was really short. Like I don't know. Like with
all like the pre-order bonuses you get and all like the DLC bonuses were all for multiplayer. It's just like, I don't care.
A game needs to be good, like on its own, not just like any game where you're just playing against people is going to be whatever experience you attach to playing against people. But like the game has to be good on its own, I think. Like for me.
We talked briefly about Battle Sector was like that for me. That first campaign you play as the Blood Angels versus the Tyranids.
Yep.
It was great. That was super good. But then like beyond that, it was like, okay, now play multiplayer. And I'm like, uninstall. Like literally, like that was it. Like I'm done. Like the campaign's over. I'm finished.
Yep.
I have no interest in taking my experience online. People suck. Like playing against people, especially anonymous people online, it's just no fun. I don't enjoy it. But after that, they did come out with new factions, and a lot of them were for multiplayer. But there were some new campaigns. They weren't as robust as the Blood Angel one was because it weren't like every level you unlock new units, and you can undo new combos and stuff. But I mean, there was some longevity in that game, and there's still, as you can see, they're still releasing more content for it.
Yeah.
So, I want to see. At the very least, some kind of RPG. For Age of Sigmar, I'd want to see at least some kind of a maybe like a new Skaven Tide, right? Because those games are great, but all set in the old world with this, the band of, heroes. Make an AOS version of that. You know what I mean? You've got plenty to choose from.
They do really, and like, especially if you're going to be ramping up to the edition next year, like. They're doing that with 40K. They got a bunch of video games that are going to coincide with the release of the new edition. Like you might as well like try that with AOS, and maybe they will. Maybe we don't know yet. I mean, we just got the official release date for Dawn of War 4 2 days ago or whatever, and that's
right.
And that's going to be this year, shortly after the 40K edition launches. So maybe they'll do something like that. They really need to, because. I don't know, you and I have found that the Mortal Realms itself is super interesting. The game, obviously, we love. So, I don't know, might as well take advantage of that IP, make it something. I think video game creators have a lot of opportunity there. But there was very little in that Skulls announcement that, it was like 40K, nostalgia 40K. AOS is kind of in this game and moving on. I don't know.
Yeah. I think part of that is finding the footing of where they want to go. Because if, like we said, we heard the rumors of them changing the setting a little bit to make it more user friendly.
Right.
Like we've got similar elements, I guess, to Warhammer 40K in the Age of Sigmar world. Was it as similar in fantasy as it was in 40K? As an Age of Sigmar, I don't think so. So maybe they've moved to make it a little bit too similar. People can't help but to equate Stormcast Eternals to Space Marines, and
Right.
while the comparison there is not accurate, it's very easy to do, right?
Yeah.
Oh, we've got guardsmen, we've got Tyranids, basically same similar thing in Age of Sigmar. Like there are things, archetypal things that are very similar. Endless tide of like bodies. It's like, okay, yeah, the
Right.
Skaven are kind of like that, right?
Yeah.
They are maybe fantasies, Tyranids. They can come out of anywhere, right? Like,
They're not really allied with anybody, right?
right. So I don't know. It's like I can see some comparisons and some similarities, and they need to do some work to change that. I don't think maybe
Well,
the kind of the disinterest people have in Stormcast didn't really help.
it's funny
Right?
is like hobby wise, I've seen people do so much with Stormcast, and some of the best NMM from a hobby perspective I've seen executed were on some form of Stormcast, especially like Bastion Carthalos, right? But like, I think the new Cities of Sigmar stuff showed that there's the popularity of it, I should say, and the response to it is people really like this human faction in Age of
Mhm.
Sigmar. And so maybe Games Workshop needs to shift their focus to making the universe about them, about the cities, about the people, whether it's humans, elves, dwarves, whatever, but like the people, make that the focus. And now you open up a world for role-playing games, for video games, etc. Now, you and I remember at a Gen Con one year, bought some of the role-playing game rule books called Soulbound. Is that what it
Yeah,
was?
yeah. Soulbound was like not exactly like it's the attempt to make it its own rule set for like an RPG system
Right.
for Age of Sigmar. It's interesting. It's very role play heavy and less stat and combat heavy.
It was a big, thick
So
rule book that didn't have that many charts or tables or anything in it. It was like a lot of lore, a lot of uh, what ifs, a lot of like RPG elements, which is fine. But I feel like with most role playing games, like that's up to the party or that's up to the group of friends, that's up to the DM, whatever, to
mhm.
come up with that kind of stuff. So you're right. It felt much less rules centric. I kind of want a book to just give me that and like basic elements of the setting, and then the rest leave up to the imagination. But it was like their attempt at like a D&D rule set almost for the Mortal Realms. I don't know how much you read of it. You had more of the books than I ever did. Like, what were your thoughts? Did it capture the Mortal Realms? Was it?
It did a lot of world building, but it wasn't accessible, right? Like it's a lot going on there, and I think it left a lot up to the GM to like make stuff up. Like it really did. And like the Mortal Realms are very large, and so you can do that. Like that's not hard. Like some corner of the Mortal Realms in their vastness, you can set anything, right? You can set
Yeah.
anything to happen that, barring, oh, I will this destroys everything and whatever. I mean, you can always do that in a setting too. Just don't expect it to be carried on to someone else's game. You can do whatever you want.
Right.
Um, I don't know. It was, yeah, I don't know. Um, I think it was a little simple. I think D&D actually does a really good job of um, making things granular enough without limiting you. I think you can do a lot with the D&D system. On the opposite side, I think if you played Rogue Trader or you played Dark Heresy, that like D100 kind of rule set, there's too much going on there. Like it's so complicated. Whereas maybe the Soulbound system is too simple. Um, where to the point where like I don't know if I call it a complete rule set as it is just a rules framework. You know?
Right.
Um, and correct me if I'm wrong. If you played Soulbound and it is more robust than I think it is, tell me about it. But comments, whatever, DM me. I don't know.
Well,
Whatever.
yeah, it's like because when we were looking at it, it was like there were a handful of books. They were all big. They were all robust. They all had beautiful color pictures but it was like pages and pages of text that were not themselves rules. So I don't know if there was much to it. Other than that, I didn't get to play really any games of it, unfortunately. But
I'll bust it out and I'll take another look at it for next week if you want.
yeah. But I mean, I'm just surprised more people haven't decided. Pick a corner of the Mortal Realms. You could even do, I think right now, at least on the D&D side, there's like this kind of open licensure to just be like, use the 5e rules and pick your setting. So I'm surprised that hasn't happened. I don't know.
I kind of am too. Or like I said, the D100 system that they have already for like the 40K side of things. Why that could be adopted to make it, an AOS module. I don't know. I don't remember which company is responsible for building that one, but it could work. Like I don't see a problem with that. Porting that over. It's all weapon skills and ballistic skills and armor values and hit location charts and it could totally work. But even if it's a brand new system, right, that uses D10s, D100s, D6s, I mean, you've got things like Shadowrun's system, which is an entirely different type. It's a success
Vampire, which is a different system, right? Yeah,
right. Like anything that you want can make a good RPG system. The base of an RPG system to play. I just license it out and try it. I don't know. I want to see more though. That's the long and short of it.
I think Games Workshop does as well. Like, it's funny is the game itself has been a commercial success on the tabletop in terms of sales, in terms of tournament turnout, etc. But like none of the things that expand it into the mainstream have caught on yet. And it's weird to me because I've watched most of the Warhammer Plus stuff, and anything from Hammer and Bolter to Black Talon set in the Mortal Realms have been very good.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot going on there. And then some of the lore in the books is becoming more and more interesting. Yeah, it's weird to me because game companies, game designers now will grab onto any fantasy or sci-fi universe and decide we can set a video game there and let's go, or a role-playing game there, let's go. I wonder what's been the trick there. If there's a bunch in the works that just is on the way, I don't know. If the game's been a commercial success, maybe they don't feel like they need it, but
maybe some of these universes they feel are very guarded, right? It's too difficult to work in this universe because it's so specific. You got to know so many things. You can't make missteps in like calling back lore things or like referring to things in the past because people they'll call you out on it for just being wrong, or like making too big of declarations or changes within that game that would have impacts on the universe as a whole. Maybe it's too difficult to tiptoe around that kind of stuff. And so maybe it's just like I don't want the headache of dealing with a very well established universe. It's too many missteps can be made,
or it's a universe that to the general public is not well established. It's like wide open, and so now you have to go in like Wild Wild West style and like, well, a story you write is going to possibly define what people think about this setting. That's a lot of pressure.
That's true too. Yeah.
So I don't know. It could be a mixture of any of those things. Because again, it's like all the numbers we've shown. It's like, well, the game's a success. The models sell like crazy. People like it. So why wouldn't all these other why wouldn't there be more shows and video games and whatever? I don't know. It could be that it's coming. They're going to plan to market it around the next edition if any of the rumors are true. We have side note. Most recent update, we have placings or pairings rather, but no placings listed yet for the Texas Open. On the Age of Sigmar side, we have 8 different armies in the top 8.
You love to see.
Yeah, it was like Blades of Corn, Lumineth Realm Lords, Skaven, Soulblight Gravelords, Cruel Boys, which that's a surprise. Seraphon, Nighthaunt, Slaves to Darkness. That was the last 8 before they cut. So yeah, pretty great. Love to see that on that side. I haven't looked at the 40K side yet, so I suppose I could. I'm gonna imagine it's gonna be the same. 40K has actually been decent in terms of their spread, right? I don't know that much about the current 40K meta. I'm gonna be honest, but we've seen. Oh, there we go. Yeah, we've seen that in that game. It's been so. Currently, first place is Drukari.
That's wild.
Yeah. Chaos Space Marines, Chaos Demons, Dark Angels, Necrons, Thousand Sons, Astra Militarum, Tau.
All right. That's a good mix. Okay.
Yeah. That's quite a variety. And like, it's funny is then from like 9 to 16, you get some repeats. There's like another Tau, another Chaos Space Marines. Where, like, in 40K, though, it's like when you say Space Marines or Chaos Space Marines, it can mean so many different things. So that's like hard to know if it's just a repeat. But when you see multiple Tau or you see multiple Tyranids, you see multiple, then it's usually like, it's probably kind of the same.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Tau's doing pretty good. There's 3 in the top 16. Your boys are showing. I don't know how much you've kept up with Tau, but yeah.
I mean, I haven't been on the 40K kick. I really haven't.
Right.
I don't know. Maybe the new edition.
What did you think of the Tau faction focus?
I mean, it was fine. I mean, it was showcasing more of the same. Like the faction will play like you think it will. Like that's basically what it was saying.
There are rumors that in 11th edition, Tau in particular are going to get a bunch of new suits. But
yeah, I'd heard that.
So with rumors, as we've learned, it's hard to know if they are seeing something new or they're seeing a refresh or they're seeing a kill team or whatever. But whether it's old suits being refreshed or not, we don't know. But it sounds like the suits will be the focus of their 11th edition release as opposed to 10th, where they got a bunch of Kroot updates, which were sorely needed. I mean, the Kroot models were old, both the plastics and the Forge World. And so they gave Kroot this giant refresh. And the models are phenomenal. I've never been interested in Kroot, but the models look great. But now it sounds like in 11th, it's like, okay, now we're going to give the Tau suits, the Gundam side, kind of their some updates. So people have speculated that some of the Riptides variants that we used to know from like Forge World or whatever, they might just scrap the current plastic Riptide and the Forge World ones and make like a new kit that makes a bunch of variants.
I mean, I'd be cool with that. Like,
yeah,
I think the bigger the suits go, the cooler the faction becomes, right? Like, as cool as the Crisis suits are, when they came out with the Storm Surge, they came out with the Ghost Keel. You know, the Riptide was mind blowing when it first came out.
Right.
They redid the broadsides and made them bigger and bulkier than just being a Crisis suit with metal upgrades basically attached to them. That's what the original one was. Yeah, I don't know if you remember that, but it was like, here's a Crisis suit. You've got metal feet. You've got metal like cooling rack on the back, and then we're going to slap 2 gigantic metal guns on your shoulders.
Yeah.
So
well, and even the original Crisis suits like didn't stand because it was like they had half a leg and then a foot.
Every single one of my old Crisis suits have broken ankles. All of them. Every single one.
Yeah.
Because the feet were like planted firmly on the ground, but then it was just a little ball joint that slotted in, and the right attached to the ball joint, there was a very thin connection piece, and it was so easy. Every single one has broken ankles.
So one rumor I heard was like variants to the Riptide or a new Riptide kit, one of the two, we don't know. And then the other I heard was they were going to expand the broadside kit. So broadside kit is not old. They got an update, and it's got the version with the missile racks and the version with the big rail gun. And
we're still talking like 7 or 8 years though, aren't we? It's been a while.
I don't know, but it sounds like
6th edition, I think, is when they got a lot of these updates.
It could be
6th and 7th.
And so whether the broadside itself will be expanded or will be a new suit entirely, I don't know. It's just someone described this like medium-sized suit with different options than we're used to seeing. So that could be wouldn't be disappointed.
How do you make a Tau player expand their army? Give them new variations of suits that they don't have.
People will buy them. Yep.
That's what you do. You know, like, everyone has as many crisis suits as they need. You know, they did do a couple of things to try to expand that, right? Like there are now 3 different variations of crisis suits with specific loadouts.
Yep.
It's not a, hey, you can equip them however you want to now. They're all just crisis suits. Now it's the, I can't even remember the 3 names of them. They're just so kind of ridiculous. But like, here's your Flamer Melta one. Here's your fusion burst cannon variety. Right. Like here's your long range. There's a bunch of different kinds now. So if you want to have multiple units of the same one, now they have to be equipped that way, and maybe you don't have yours equipped that way, so you got to go buy more. Well, here's a broadside with an ion cannon now instead of a railgun or missiles. You have to buy it if you want to play it. It's a new gun, like that kind of thing. Same goes with the Riptides. The Riptide is very, very specific. You get 2 main gun options. That's it. If you magnetize that, you can have as many as one or the other as you need. I mean, I'm excited to see more Riptide variants because if I do play and I get Riptides on the table, I've got 12 Riptides. It's impossible to play that many in this version of the game because of the rule of 3. 3 of them are the forgeable variants. So I have got two Ravarnas and 1 Yahara.
So for those who don't remember, the Ravarna had an edition of 40K where it was absurd. And so, like,
its gun was good at anything. It was so ridiculous. I think it was like the bigger the target you were firing at, the higher your strength and damage.
Yep.
And then
the gun worked against everything.
Yeah, it was so good. And then smaller units, you got more shots. Like it was ridiculous. It had weapon profiles before there were like the 10th edition weapon profiles, basically. Or think about the conversion beamers, right? A lot of Forge World things had these weapons called conversion beamers. The farther you were from your target, the more powerful the gun was, which was weird.
Yeah.
But it was like in increments of 15. It's like, 0 to 15 inches, this is your profile. 15 to 30 inches, you have a better profile, but maybe less shots. And then 30 to 45, you had a really strong profile, but even fewer shots. It's weird. It's like you just have 3 different gun options, basically, is what you're saying. You can only fire 1 at a time. That's kind of what the Rarna had, was like, if you're fighting against hordes, if you're fighting against tanks, different strengths, different damages.
But because it was Forge World, it was like even more extreme. It was like, well, if you're fighting against hordes, it acts like a flamer where it's like torrent and whatever in auto hits. And then it was like, you're fighting against vehicles, it's all of a sudden Uber Melta. Yeah. So
or there was like its overchargeability was just you just get max number of shots. It was like 3d3 shots per gun, and it was like, well, you charged up, have 18 shots.
Yeah. And so people would drop it in, melt, insert target.
Oh, you're talking about the Yahara, which was even more stupid because it had at the time it had a Fleshbane flamer, so it would auto hit, wound everything on a 2.
Yep.
And it was like AP2, which meant that armor saves of 2+ or worse were just ignored. Yeah, the Yahara was absolutely ridiculous. And then its other gun had ion, so we had an ion thing, which at the time made it so that if you wounded on a 4+, it just did auto penetration to vehicles. So it was like, I've got a flamer that deals good damage to infantry. I've got a cannon that deals good damage to vehicles. I've got no bad target. By the way, I'm done shooting. I'm going to swoop 18 inches away from you.
So it was like, because it was like at the time, it was like there were these grav cannons that were like that, where it was like, you're going against infantry, it has this profile. You're going against vehicles, it has this profile, so it has no bad targets.
Yeah.
And
so
that version of the Riptide
at the time
had super grav gun, and the suit itself could just jump away after it fight.
It also had the longest range flamer in the game, which at the time was 12 inches. So it could deep strike in outside of 9 inches or whatever and still flame you.
Yep.
Whereas other flamers only had a range of 8. So you were 9 inches away, your flamer's range 8, you can't actually do anything. And then Tau had the special thing where they could overwatch everything at Overwatch. You declare a charge, I get to overwatch you. And so it would drop in. You did charge it. It would hit you with the flamer that was AP2. It just melted you.
Yep.
Yeah, it was insane.
Because it auto hit in Overwatch. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, pretty ridiculous. But well, yeah, I'm excited to see those come back, right?
So we've seen on the Horus Heresy front, because the pre-order that went up today was 2 giant tanks. It was a variant of the Spartan and a variant of not the Falchion, but another one of those big.
No, it was a Falchion.
Oh, one of the
literally a Falchion super heavy.
But it seems more and more of that stuff is being ported over either to 30K or in this case with Tau 40K, and so it's possible. Maybe it won't be those exact Riptides, but the rumor is they've got a much more varietous Riptide coming. So
I mean, I could see them having new medium variants of the Ghost Keel because that one was so limited. Yeah. So if we run down what Forge World had for Tau, so they had obviously those suits. They had the Crisis hazard suits. You remember those?
Yep.
Which were like slightly taller, skinnier, higher toughness, and more wounds. Crisis suits. You had the Crisis suit variants, which were like the Enforcer and the whatever special titanium suits. You had the Tau Brute Riders, the Narlock, the Great Narlock. You know those units. They also had 5 different aircraft. I don't know if you remember those. They had both a swooping like drone that was an aircraft drone. They had the Tiger Shark. They had the Manta. They had the Orca. And then they had there was 2 versions of the Tiger Shark.
They had the
So they had a whole bunch of different planes, which kind of ties into Aeronautica, which there's a new episode coming out, by the way, up on Warhammer Plus for Aeronautica. But they had a whole bunch of planes, plus a whole bunch of suit variants, plus a unique like a named character in one of those I'm going to say hazard suits. There was quite a bit of stuff. If you looked at which armies had the most stuff on Forge World, Tau was kind of up there at like number 4 or 5.
Yeah, because it was like Forge World kind of got its start as like it was fanboys of Imperial Guard, Astra Militarum, and Space Marines. And so they just kept making kits for that. And then, like, obviously, there's this whole long history that's oversimplified. There's this whole long history of Games Workshop buying the company that became Forge World, whatever. And so they have like 1,800 models or something ridiculous that were Imperium. They eventually branched out to the other factions by virtue of they had to, but they didn't really seem to try hard with many of them. But like among the Xenos, Tau did pretty well. I think the Gundam style of the suits, but then there were also, like you said, the Krutnar, like and whatever. Tau did okay, but it seems that Forge World is as we used to know it, is essentially going away, and now they're just doing one-off character models.
Well, they didn't even specify them. These are Forge World kits. They'll say like on their normal website, this is an expert kit, 15 years plus. You go into it, it says this is made with, whatever resin,
white resin, right?
The one that Forge World made.
Yeah.
And so like they're not even differentiating them anymore. They're
No,
not separating them into different categories or on a different.
they don't have their
website.
own section of the booth anymore. Like, yeah. Right. So, and again, if those rumors are true, the kits that will be made for Tau and 11th edition, they might not even have the same names the Forger ones used to have, but it just seems like they're porting more of that over. Like the old Dimekarin for Tyranids was essentially replaced by the Norn plastics in terms of what their function was, and they look better, quite frankly. So if that's true for Tau, for those of you who are the Tau players, that'll be exciting.
Sure. Yeah.
And if those rumors are starting to come now, I wonder if that means Tau will be early in the new edition.
Curse of the early edition update. It's real. Like it does.
What's funny is
we talk about it every time.
Well, and their designers and their rules guys don't like ignore that. They know the fans are aware of like. So we know their design process doesn't happen over a weekend. So there's a lot of fans out there who don't understand that when a book comes out, it doesn't mean they wrote it like yesterday. It's they go through these design phases, and then it's 18 to 24 months before we have it on the shelves. So when a series of codexes or battle tomes come out and we feel the design style is vanilla or great, people need to understand that they designed that a long time ago. It was not just thought of. Anyway, that being said, however they start an edition, it's not necessarily that the armies or factions will be weak, but don't expect that's how the whole edition is going to look. So
Right.
if you're one of those early edition battle tomes or codexes, those first like 6 that come out, you're all going to play nice together. But the next wave that comes out is going to probably look rules wise and flavor wise very different. So a lot of people don't like to be among those early releases because, I mean, they do if it means new models right when the new edition starts, but then they don't want to be there rules wise because they know the waves that come after are probably going to be much more interesting. And so
Exactly.
we see that in Age of Sigmar, obviously, where it's like, well, Skaven, Stormcast, and Slaves to Darkness are still performing at tournaments. Their battle tomes are very bland. Their builds are narrow. And these new armies that come out have just so many more options, so much more interesting rules. And in 40K, we see the same thing, right? It's like Space Marines Tyranids got the first updates in the 10th edition, but then they got blown past in terms of their flavor, their fun, their creativity with the later codexes. So you never like to hear that you might be one of the first ones in an edition for that reason. That said, the Games Workshop people, like we see Eddie and Adam talk about, like they acknowledged it in their Q&As. Like we know that sometimes there's that early codex or early battle tome syndrome where we feel like they're not as good as what comes later. So they're trying to put more effort into the design of a new edition. That could mean that when 11th comes out, if Tau, let's say, is among those first 6, they might actually have a lot of flavor injected into them. And I hope that's true. It sounds like these first waves of rules, which we're getting trickles of, they really want a whole lot more interest in them because they're not going index hammer. They're not resetting everybody, but they kind of are. Like, so the first books that come out are going to be massive overhauls from what we had in 10th edition. So it might end up as bad as we think, but the precedent has been if you're early, you're going to end up kind of bland.
If you're early, we don't change much. Later in the edition, we change a lot.
Right.
That's usually how it goes.
Yeah.
And the changing a lot is usually makes you better.
Well, at least more fun, right? I mean, like look at like Sylvaneth in Age of Sigmar right now. It's like they're hot, but they're not broken. It's just they have like 5 or 6 completely different ways they can play, and they're all super fun. And that to me is like the peak, right, of an army, is when you have a lot of different ways you can play them. A bunch of them are fun. Powerful is fun, believe it or not. But like when you only have like one way you can do it, and then it's really boring, and it has to do this one linear thing during the game. Yeah.
But it also allows your opponents to know, like, oh, I'm playing against an army. Well, I know exactly what it wants to do. So how do I fight against it? Well, I need to tie down or debuff the one unit that does all the things for the army. And I can win. That's easy.
Right.
Like, you know how to counter it.
It's like, which General's Handbook are we in? Okay. So if I'm playing against Slaves to Darkness, I have this one either Chosen or Varangard unit, depending on what the points cards are at the time, that I have to somehow deal with. Otherwise, easy.
And that's the best build. And so if they're playing anything other than that, your game is even easier.
Yeah.
Because that's the build that's challenging. Anything else I don't even have to prepare for because everything else is weaker.
Yep. I have to do with one Death Star, right? And like, whereas like if you play against Lumineth or Sylvaneth or Maggotkin or Nighthaunt or something like that right now, it's like, well, you don't know which build you're going to get. Maybe one character is going to be a constant across them, but like the other 1,800 points or whatever are going to be completely different. I don't know. So I can feel that, but it sounds like those guys are aware of it. It sounds like on the Games Workshop side now, they're aware that happens, that they go through these different design phases in an edition. And so if you think about that logistically, that means whatever books are on the way to start 40K 11th have been designed for months. But it also means the next wave have also been designed or are in the works right now. So that design philosophy could be different, but some of the rumors of these first ones sounds like they were aware of it going into this. So maybe Who knows? Maybe that'll be
So
better.
maybe they correct them to compete with the other 20 books from
Right.
last edition, but then going forward they start diverging again.
Yeah, because we've heard rumors about Tau, about Custodes, obviously Space Marines and Orcs, but those were some of the first factions we heard about. Were like Custodes, Tau, and some other, and so it's possible that those are in the early wave.
Yeah.
Hopefully it'll be good because some of those armies have been like pigeonholed into a few things over and over again. What would you like to see? Side note, we heard another rumor, by the way, that there was going to be an actual like community interactive Armageddon participation campaign of some sort. Now, I've read that the story's already been determined. And so our participation is kind of like play the things that already happened. I guess that's another detail we can talk about, whether we like that or not. But if there is going to be a campaign, do you think it'll be the same as it's always been, where you just submit your results?
Yeah, I do.
They show them.
Yeah, I think it'll be. I think it'll be the same. It's an easy way to like maybe it'll be something like I kind of like what they did last time, where it was okay. Well, you submit your results for who wins this Armageddon campaign, and your side who wins will get your releases revealed first. I did like that.
Yeah,
it was
that
like
was cool.
We're gonna release new Space Marines and we're gonna release new Orcs, but if whoever wins this battle we'll get the preview and maybe even get the release of the Orcs first, or we'll get the release of the Space Marines first. It wasn't a no stakes submission, but it was less like, well, you determine the world, the fate of the planet, as opposed to like interact with what becomes available first.
I think that takes the sting off of the story being predetermined, is to be like,
exactly.
Well, but as the consumer, you get to decide which models come out first, or which models we show off first, or whatever. Yeah, okay, I could see that. They could probably do that again.
I think that was fine. That was fine last time.
So. Yeah. Do you have hope, by the way, for that video game where you play as a Skaven assassin?
I do. I think it could be really cool.
Or whatever it's called.
I mean, I've played other similar games, and I think it's got potential. We saw almost nothing of what the game will be.
Right. It's sometime in 2027. Yeah.
I've played similar games, and it could be super cool. It could be, fighty. I don't know what they're going to do with the stealth. There are successful stealth mechanics in other games that they could borrow from. It being a platformer is maybe stealth is a little underdone.
That's what surprised me. Is it said 2D platformer. I was like, oh, how do you sneak around as an assassin then? Yeah.
I mean, maybe it's something where you can, hide inside of stuff as enemies walk by. There's a really cool game to look at called oh shit, I forget what it's called. You play as a ninja though.
For those who don't know, Skaven have a lot of factions, infantry, and characters that are a lot like ninjas.
Mark of the Ninja, I think that's what it's called. Yeah, Mark of the Ninja, and it was, I think, it was a lot of fun of a platformer game, but it did a really good job of stealth mechanics and like staying in enemies' blind spots and doing quiet takedowns and like stashing bodies so the enemies that are patrolling don't find what you've done, or like noise indicators for drawing enemies to you.
Like Metal Gear Solid. What was that noise?
I mean, a little bit, yeah, a little bit like that. But Mark of the Ninja did a really good job of it. If it's anything like that, well, you also would need to get it right in terms of mechanics. That game, not only was it really good, but like the controls were very crisp. They were very responsive. It was very like a lot of things were very timing oriented, that you needed to be able to get things done stealth wise in that game. And if there was any delay, if like the game wasn't designed so that there were like animation locks where like you couldn't do something because you were in the middle of an animation and it prevented you from doing the stealthy thing that you were trying to do, the takedown kill, it could ruin that experience.
Right.
So if it's anything like that game, carbon copy that game, but make it Skaven would be amazing.
Well, for people who don't know, in the Warhammer universe, it's kind of in the old world, and then now in Age of Sigmar, like there are assassins for every faction, right? And like the Dark Elves and Cathayans and whatever in the old world were very good at it, but for some reason, it's like Skaven were the best. It was like they would send the Council of 13 or whatever would like send somebody to the Cathay to Nippon to wherever to train, and that assassin would almost be an unknown, but would come back and be better than any other assassin or any other faction. They're better than the people who train them. I don't know what it is, but Skaven are exceptional assassins. Deathmaster Snickich, of course, was the most famous in the old world, and now in Age of Sigmar we have one, Crixit. And so now, in this assassin platformer video game is set in the Mortal Realms, not in the old world. So
it specifically says Age of Sigmar.
Yeah. So I hope they really lean into that and show what that looks like in the Mortal Realms.
I do hope it's not just you killing other Skaven.
Yeah.
Right? I hope it's you get tested to fight other things, right? Like you're fighting Stormcast, you're fighting like things that are bigger than a Skaven, and him still succeeding.
Yeah, how
like,
do
that's
kind of that, right? You know? They showed a little bit of that in the Warhammer Plus animation where they had the Claw Lord. Is that what it's called? The guy on the like big rat mutant thing, which came in the starter set for the AOS 4.0 box, Skaventide. But like they showed that guy was a badass in combat. And it wasn't because he could go up against a Stormcast and like out muscle him. He can't, but it was speed, maneuvering, decisions made with the weapon, the type of weapons they used, like mentality, all of this stuff made that Skaven Claw Lord or whatever like a badass. So it'd be cool if they lean into what makes Skaven exceptional at the things they're good at, because most of the Skaven are expendable. They're an expendable race. The people who run them know that. They just treat them literally like rats. But then the ones who are good at what they do, they're unlike anything else. So I really hope
still expendable, but like there's fewer of them, so they need to accomplish more.
Yeah,
like you might get sent to a mission to kill somebody, but and you might die in the process. But that's what they're willing to take.
Yeah,
they know they're expending those resources, but you are a resource as opposed to just being chaff.
Yeah, and so when it came to like those who specialize in magic, it's like the Grey Seers and whatnot can see the warp in a way nothing else can, and then they had their arch warlocks who are these engineers, but whatever, and then you have the assassins. When Skaven have a specialist, they earn it. They have a name that's known because they're so exceptional at it. So I hope that they lean into what makes a Skaven assassin so special. Now, as a 2D platformer, I expect it to be mostly just a game of addiction, like dopamine hits, where it's just addictive to play the whatever. But I hope they have a story accompanying it. And you're right. I hope they also kill more than just other Skaven. I don't know. That'd be great to see.
It's one of the only thing we saw, right? He just smashes another Skaven in the head. That was it. But not give me an idea for what the game will be.
Right.
Like the atmosphere and everything are there. Yes. We see how the animation styling is, sure, but what kind of game is it? I don't know.
Right.
I really don't.
Even that survival game's kind of like that, where it's like, well, visually I see Marnius Calgar killing Tyranids, or visually I see Neve Blacktalon killing, whatever. But it's like, there's no story with it. It's just you're just a skin fighting to get skins. Like, I don't know. Got to lean into the universe a bit for me to be interested. Sure. I don't know. Yeah.
But we'll know more soon. You know what I'm interested in?
What's that?
Is actually grabbing something to eat.
Well, that's one thing that you can know more soon is whether or not that food will be satisfactory and make you feel satiated and full, or if you will complain about it later or in next week's show.
Yeah. Let's get on that.
Let's examine that. Yeah.
Let's see.
To eat.